It's the Hero Show. Welcome to the Hero Show, everybody, where every week we seek inspiration from great men and women to become the heroes and heroines of our own lives. And you are here with your hosts. I am Andrew Bernstein. You are Robert Begley. How you doing today, Robert?
Oh, Andy, I'm doing fabulous. Super excited to celebrate the heroism of America's wild, wild West and how that plays in the lives of several different people. And just one word,
Yeah, absolutely. Shane, right?
Yes.
Shane, who will be only the third, as we approach 3 years of the Hero Show, he'll be only the
Wow.
third fictional hero that we've examined so far, starting with Sherlock Holmes,
Yep.
continuing with Howard Rourke, and now continuing again with Shane. And if, out there in Hero Land, if you have not read Jack Shaefer's magnificent novel of the eponymous title of Shane, there it is. I strongly suggest you do so. It's one of my all-time favorite novels, and the goodwill, the benevolence
Yes.
of these characters, especially Shane himself, and of the story is really, it is just, I mean, it's even just talking about it very often just chokes me up. It's so touching.
Yeah.
So powerfully touching.
Yeah, Andy, we might both get choked up today, frankly, because it's so overwhelmingly powerful. But some themes we're going to talk about. Hero worship. In my opinion, this is the best novel ever written from the point of view of hero worship. From
Absolutely agree.
11-year-old boy, Bob. Masculinity. We hear masculinity criticized today. Well, let's actually define what it means and show how it plays out in Shane. Guns. Are they a tool that are useful in the hands of the right people? Or should they be banished from the valley? There's two contrasting views in the novel. If you look at literary analysis of Shane, he's portrayed as selfless. You know, he sacrifices himself over and over again. Well, we beg to differ on that point. And then finally, what's the difference between the book and the film? I grew up watching the film since I was about 6, 7 years old. So seeing Shane as a hero, like I just related to Bobby as seeing this man doing these incredible things. And then when I was in my 20s, maybe 30s, I'm at a lecture, and as much as I love this film, I hear this guy with this heavy Brooklyn accent kind of trashing the film, saying, read the book, read the book. Oh, wait, who's that guy?
Yes. Can't imagine who that must have been.
And then I went out and got the book, and I was like, he is so right in many ways, not necessarily in every way, but we'll talk about the difference between novels and how hard it is to capture the essence of a novel on film.
Yeah. We should mention here the difference between the genres. And I think it's very rare where a movie that's based on a novel is as good as the novel. And I think the reason why a novel is generally better, you hear people say all the time about a movie, oh, it's not as good as the book. You know, well, they used to, when people still read books, you know. but I think the reason for that is the novel is a very conceptual literary form, and you could get into the characters' heads and into their motives, whereas film is very visual, and it's hard to show what the characters are thinking, what they're motivated by. And so I think that's at least part of the reason. Anyhow, magnificent novel. I've come to appreciate the film more, although I still prefer the novel, much more. Anyway,
likewise, absolutely, likewise, Andy. So, why don't you just give like a brief synopsis? Spoiler alert.
Yes.
Yet again, if you haven't stop the recording right now, take 3 or 4 hours. It's not a thick book, it's pretty thin. You can knock it out very quickly. And but yeah, Andy, just give a quick picture.
Sure, like you said, Robert. Spoiler alert. And yes, it's only about 120 pages, and more than this brevity, it's a great story. You want to find out what happens. So Shane is a mysterious figure. he has some kind of gunfighting past. We find out later on, but we don't know that at the start. He comes riding into this valley in Wyoming. What was it, 1889?
1890, yeah, late
Yeah.
18, yeah,
Yeah, and then that's
1889,
not
you're
an
right.
accident on Jack Shaefer's part, because that's just when the U.S. Census Bureau had closed off the frontier. It's just coming to the end. The Wild West, is coming to an end, but it's still wild here. The nearest federal marshal was like, what did they say? 3 days ride, or he's a long ways up. And so this mysterious stranger comes riding into the valley of Wyoming, meets up with his homesteading family, Joe Starrett, Marion Starrett, and their son Bobby. A great family, really good people, enormously hardworking, honest, productive people. And there's a range war going on. It's always in these traditional westerns, the cattle barons are always the bad guys, and the farmers are always the sod busted pig farmers. They're always the good guys, and so the Fletcher, the cattle baron, wants the Starrett is the head of the homesteaders. He wants them off the property. He wants, he doesn't want to fence in his cattle, open range, don't fence off the range. And Joe Starrett won't sell, he won't scare, he won't leave. There's a few fist fights involved, which you start to see Shane's prowess, where, and eventually Fletcher hires a brutal gunfighter with the great name of Stark Wilson. Brilliantly portrayed in the film by Jack
Palance is perfect. He's perfect, and as Stark Wilson, yes.
Except they changed the name to Jack Wilson, and I don't see the benefit of that. Stark. Stark is a much better name because his character's so stark.
Yes.
In fact, when I was teaching Shane in class, I always referred to him as Shark Wilson. So anyhow, Fletcher has Wilson kill off one of the homesteaders to intimidate them. And he's making an offer to Starrett, I'll buy your farm, you come work to me, I'll take your man Shane. The rest of these guys got to leave. You've got to be out of here. The rest of the homesteaders got to leave. Joe's supposed to go into town, to negotiate this with him. Shane knows he's going to his death. If he does, Wilson's going to kill him.
Wilson has already killed one hothead, so he's setting him up to kill another.
Yes. And so Shane says, Shane's had his gun buried, through the whole story in his saddlebag. Now he comes out with his gun, and Bobby describes it. It was like, this is what was incomplete about Shane before. This completes it. He is by nature, he is a gunfighter. This is who he is. And he's gonna, this is my battle, Joe. Joe says no, and Shane has to conk him over the head with his gun to knock him out. Was he tell Marion, tell him it's no shame to be to be defeated by Shane or something? He says, showing a very high opinion of himself. Rides into town, and I think the scene in the book is much better than I think the dialogue's much better, because in the film version he sort of cusses Wilson out, but in the book he says, where's Fletcher, and Wilson, where's Starrett, and Wilson says, I got no quarrel with you, Shane, it's Starrett I want. And Shane says, what you want, Wilson, and what you're going to get are not the same thing. Your killing days are done.
A classic line.
They deleted it from the movie.
Yes.
Anyway, what you want, what you're gonna get, Wilson, are two different things. Your killing days are done. And so they shoot it out. He kills Wilson. Fletcher takes a shot at him. He kills Fletcher. He's wounded. He's riding out of town. And Bobby has run behind him. He's watching this, and Shane has killed off the primary bad guys. He says, I guess that settles it. I'm leaving now. Not one of you going to follow me. Everybody, I don't know. We're not following you, Shane. And Bobby pleads with him to stay. And here's, there's some philosophy here that I think is problematic, and that is Shane tells no. He says a kill. There's no going back from a killing. Bobby, right or wrong, it's a brand that sticks. He tells him, I tried to change, but I can't break the mold. He tells him, you can't break the mold. Deterministic claim.
Yes.
I tried and failed, and he rides off alone into the night, leaving behind the family he loves. And it's so touching. And Bobby runs home. He tells his mom, who loves her husband, but she can't help feeling love for Shane, who loves her too. And she looks out, and it just chokes me up. She looks out at the night and the mountains, and she says, "Thank you." And when you realize all that she's thanking him for, saving my husband's life, not making any advances on me, and thereby, making me into an adulteress and possibly threatening my marriage, leaving town because, as great as you are, Shane, I don't want my son to hero worship a gunfighter and grow up to want to be like a gunfighter. I want him to grow up to be like his dad. She has a lot to thank him for. She realizes it. She says, when she says thank you, it is so sincere, it is so heartfelt, and it is true at so many different levels that she herself realizes. It's beautiful. It's just beautifully done by Jack Shaefer.
Perfect, Andy. One other minor detail there, that there's a triangle, there's a love triangle. Joe Starrett is actually willing to step aside.
Yeah.
He's actually willing to, he sees Shane as the better man. And he tells Marion, I'm I understand if you go with him, but Shane is not, that's not the way he's going to act. And Marion's thanking him for that too. That's one added little concrete.
Because Shane is right. As much as Marion loves him and he loves her, she will be happiest over the course of a lifetime with Joe Starrett.
Yes.
Not with the gunfight. She's not good. And Shane is right about that. And Marion, sometimes your rational conclusions and your emotions are not always 100% congruent. But Marion knows in her head, Joe's the man for me. I belong with Joe and with my son. And if I go with Shane, what are we going to be we're going to be, nomads, wanderers, traipsing around. Do I bring Bobby with me for that kind of life? Or does he stay with his father? Because, no, Shane is right. He's right about this.
So let me jump in with the hero worshiping angle, because just from the very beginning of the novel, and here's a big difference. We're gonna go back and forth with this film versus the book. The book is written exactly from the eyes of an 11-year-old boy. The film is it's not that way nearly as much, and it probably can't be, because a lot of it is cerebral storytelling that Bob is doing. So one of the pivotal early scenes is when Shane comes on onto the property, and he sees Bobby he talks to Joe, who's right behind Bob.
Who pulls a gun on him in the movie
for his horse? Yeah, I know. They have to shorten things, and that didn't exactly bother me. But the line that he says,
not a good idea to pull a gun on Shane.
No, it's not. It's not, and we see how jumpy he is in the movie. But when Shane addresses the father, totally respectfully, then he goes to Bob, and he's like, you've been watching me since way back there. I like a man who watches things around him, and Bob is like, he called me a man. I'm 11 years old and he's calling me a man. And that is like so now that we know Bob loves his father for all the right reasons, Joe Starrett is totally independent, wants to be his own man, wants to build this property, turn it into something, leads the community. And there's one tree stump that he can't get rid of. And he describes it to Shane after they have dinner. And I just want to read the scene.
Go ahead.
Andy, after there's an encounter with a guy who's trying to overcharge the Starretts, and Shane is like, no, he's charging you way more. So after that conversation ends, they're looking around, they don't find Shane. And it says, he went directly around the corner of the building. We stared after him, and we were staring when we heard it. The sound, the clear ringing sound of steel biting into wood. I never could explain what that sound did to me. It struck through me as no single sound ever done before. With it ran a warmth that erased at once and forever the feeling of sudden chill terror that our visitor had evoked in me. There were sharp hidden hardness to him, but these were not for us. He was dangerous, as mother had said, but not to us, as father had said too. And he was no longer a stranger. He was a man like father in whom a boy could believe in the simple knowing that what was beyond comprehension was still clean and solid and right.
Clear grain all the way through. Isn't that how
Yeah.
Joe Starrett describes him to
Yes.
Marion?
Yes. Yeah, he's dangerous, he tells her, but not to us.
Not to us.
You know,
Right.
not to us.
He's
And
the
it's like,
safest man we've ever had under our roof, right? A couple of points came to mind while you were talking, Robbie. One is when Shane tells Bobby, I know, you know, you've been watching me all. Jack Shaefer's showing us how observant Shane is. He noticed this from, you know, from way off. You know, the classic gunfighter in all these Western movies always sits with his back to the wall.
That's right.
You know, nobody can come behind him through a window or through a doorway, and he observes everything, you know, in front of him. Well, like
even
Shane
in their home, even they even make that point where Shane takes the seat where he could face, and Bob is always ready to say something, and Joe's like, nope. You know, so we as the reader get this, you know, we just get this sense of life through the eyes of an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andy.
So Shane is the knee plus ultra, always with his back to the wall, observing. Nobody can come up from behind him. That's one point. And we talk about battling the stump. The way Jack Shaefer describes these two men, you know, Joe Starrett's a big, burly, powerful guy. And in the book, when they take on, you know, Fletcher's men in the bar, this classic fist fight is like those two against 5 or 6 of Fletcher's guys. You know, Joe Starrett's shirt tears down the back, you know, because he's so muscular and everything. Where Shane is much smaller, you know. If Joe Starrett, I don't know, I'm just making this up, if he's 6'3" and 225 pounds or something, Shane may be, I don't know, 5'9", 5'10", maybe 175, 180 pounds. But the thing about Shane is he's so athletic. He's an extraordinary athlete. His litheness and the way, you don't have to be big. Well, how big was Bruce Lee? I mean, he was, you're
5'6". 5'5", 5'6".
And what did he weigh? 130?
Yeah, right, 130.
Yeah, exactly, but he could hit because he's so with his foot, you know, foot, knee, hands, elbows, whatever. Because when you're that well coordinated as Shane is, you hit with every ounce of your body. So when Shane hits you, it's with 175 or 180 pounds, full force, you know, coming at you. And he generates, and he's so light, he's so quick, he's so agile, he generates tremendous speed, hand and foot speed, which means even more momentum. You're bashing. He is a formidable man in a fist fight. But what we find out, his hands are so lightning quick that he is and his aim is so true. He is the preeminent gunfighter, and you do not want to get into a gunfight, you know, with Shane. No, he is a physical specimen. He's an extraordinary athlete.
And intelligent. So as you said, he's observant too. So it's not just pure physicality. He's strategizing in every single scene. He's strategizing, seeing.
Yeah, he's very smart.
Yeah, I want to move on, Andy, just to this idea of masculinity, because this scene also it portrays these two men now are hacking away at this, you know, at this tree stump that is as old as the ages. And Joe makes it clear he's been trying and he just can't beat it. He just can't, and he kind of likes it and respects the tree stump.
Yeah.
They're going at it, and they make some progress. They lift it up a little bit, and then Marion comes in. So this is masculinity. This is what I'm talking about, masculinity. They want to conquer nature with their hands, with their bare hands and axes. She comes in and she says, okay, you made some progress. Why don't you bring in the mules to do the rest?
Yeah, hitch up.
Now that is a lot. That is totally logical, right, Andy?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I would have done.
But Joe's having no part of it, and Shane's having no part of it. They're like, no, no, no. Men did that. Men started this, and men will finish this. And that, to me, this is like an essence of masculinity and going out to the frontier, settling with your hands and your mind. That's a masculine trait. You know,
Oh, yeah.
there's just there's no way around that. Okay, whatever people think of it to this days, there aren't frontiers, you know, to go out there anymore for these
Space,
things.
the final
Yes,
frontier.
I set myself up for that one.
No, it's true though. It's
It is true.
freaking
It is.
dangerous
Yes,
to
it
go.
is. It
Elon
is.
Musk wants to go to Mars, and I hope
I
they
know.
do. But
Yeah.
space travel is dangerous.
But the point here, though, is that resourcefulness, conquering nature with, you know, with your hands, your mind, your tools, decisiveness in action. These are what have been for millennia masculine traits, okay, that are under attack today.
Absolutely. On this one concrete, I agree with Mary. With me, I don't go up the deep and pull that sucker out. But they want to do it brute force, and they do. You know, they're tremendous.
Yeah.
Both men very powerful, and they do. They conquer that stuff. But yeah, you're right. The broader point, absolutely. Conquering the frontier it takes courage, and it takes a great deal of manliness. You know, you need women because otherwise you're alone. You know, romantically. But this is and women. This there may be some rare women who can do this, but this is a manly thing. Is what it takes to chop down the trees and build the cabin, dig the foundations, build the cabins, fight off the marauding tribes and bandits. Yeah, this takes manly strength.
Yeah.
The ingenuity could come from either gender. The physical strength involved here is predominantly male characteristic. The prowess necessary to fight off bad guys, whether it's the Sioux, criminal, bandits or whatever. It's largely, it's the warrior part of it. What Shane is preeminently is. This is what's necessary, to conquer a raw frontier. And by the way, a couple of points on this. Jack Shaefer makes clear in the novel that Fletcher is not entirely a bad guy. I mean, he rode into the valley at a time when I guess it was the Sioux. This is Wyoming, right? It's just the Sioux of mighty warriors, and were not peaceful generally.
He lost men. He lost a lot of men.
Yeah, we fought off, these warlike Indian tribes, and we conquered them, and now we can run beef herds on the open range. So he did that. He and his guys, and like you said, Rob, he lost a lot of his men fighting off the Indians and bandits and various marauders. So that's certainly a big part of it. What else I want to say about this? I forget. It'll come to me. There was something else I want to say.
We'll dovetail.
Toxic masculinity. Yeah, I gotta say something of that. Now this is irrational as can be. This is the term toxic masculinity is a product of toxic leftism. Is what it is, and just a hatred of men. There's a couple of points. So somebody once said to me in a Q&A of a lecture I was given, she said she's talking about all the violence in the world. There's too much testosterone, she said. And I said, wait a minute, time out. There's no such thing as too much testosterone. For example, if our dads didn't have enough testosterone, our moms wouldn't have conceived, and none of us would be here, right? I said, there's no such thing as too much testosterone. There is such a thing as too few moral principles. There's too few moral principles. You can have all the testosterone in the world. You can have as much testosterone as Bill Clinton. Here goes an attractive woman. Oh God, I want to grab. Oh, wait a minute, no. That's not right. I don't want to abuse this innocent woman. And moral principles are the great difference maker. So
Yes.
Toxic masculinity is this. No, masculinity, as you just pointed out very nicely, is absolutely essential to build and create and grow. There are some things in dealing with physical nature, physical strength matters,
Yes.
and that's a manly characteristic. And so there's simply an advantage that men have in building stuff and creating and growing. Although women could do all the intellectual work, which is the fundamental, as Ayn Rand points out. The mind is man's tool of survival, and that's not a gender-specific characteristic. But building stuff, building construction work, there's or defending civilization against bad guys like Shane. This is males are fundamentally better equipped to do this than females are, and so manliness is necessary for the human race to survive, and that way it's good.
So this dovetails perfectly, Andy, with the next point, which is on guns. So Marion makes it clear she doesn't want guns in the valley. Her son Bobby, first he's enamored with Shane as a gunslinger, but he hasn't even seen Shane use his gun. And he has his own little wooden one that he twirls around, and a little rifle that he might shoot at squirrels or something. But she's dead set against that, and she sees the growing influence of Shane on her son, and she calls Shane out, to task. And he tells her, he says, a gun is a tool, Marion, no better or no worse than any other tool, as an axe, a shovel, or anything. A gun is as good or as bad as the man using it. And the film plays it out, just as you said earlier, that Fletcher is not the most evil man, but where he does go over to the wrong side is now he wants to initiate force and bring in a hired killer to settle, to shift the balance of power. And when the bad guys have guns and the good guys don't, doesn't end pretty.
No,
it doesn't end pretty.
No, it doesn't. And Shane's absolutely right. Reminds me of a meme I saw on Facebook not so long ago from probably somebody who's religious, said a rock in the hands of Cain killed Abel, a rock in the hands of David killed Goliath. It's not about the rock, which is the same point. Whether it's a knife, right, club, a gun, whatever it is, bad guys will use the weapon against the innocent, and the good guys need to be just as well armed to defend themselves and other innocent people against the bad guys, against those who initiate physical force. So and they, I think by the end of the story, I think Marion understands. Thank God for Shane, otherwise Joe would be dead.
Yes,
he would.
Yep, and we'd be on the run. And we would be on
right.
the run again on top of that.
That's right.
And I'd be a single mom and out in the wilderness, and I'd pack up, go back to New England, which is where she's from. So
and give up the home in this beautiful Wyoming valley that she loves.
Yeah,
she'd be widowed. Bobby be semi-orphaned. She'd have to give up the home, so she's very grateful to Shane, the man, the good man that he is, and of course to Shane's unique prowess. I mean, so, Joe Starrett's a great man, but Shane's right. He's got no chance against Wilson. Wilson will kill him.
Yeah,
this is Shane's battle.
So Andy, moving on to whether Shane is selfish or selfless. I mentioned earlier that's most literary analysis and film analysis of Shane show him sacrificing over and over again. He protects this family, as we've said, over and over again. And he inspires, and he doesn't walk away like our favorite stories. He doesn't win the battle and get the girl at the end. He doesn't. He goes off into the wilderness, which is a Western. That's a motif in Western film cinema, as Ian Faith calls it. But anyway, it looks like he's sacrificing his life, because even at the end, we're not even sure if he lives. He gets shot. So is this whole story?
No bullet can kill that man. I wonder if anything could.
Okay, so go ahead. I think you covered this in your book that you just showed as well.
Yes. So let me read. Yeah, this is Heroes, Legends, and Champions. The chapter on virtue and self-sacrifice as moral antagonists. And I was talking here about the importance of personal relationships as as enormous values.
Yes.
You and I have been friends for like 40 years, and it's
it
is an enormous value. Romantic relationships, if you choose to have children, your relationship with your child, with your closest friends, these are values. It's not just about making money or whatever. These are values that are enormously egoistic, that is necessary to have a happy and fulfilled life.
Andy, before you read, let me just jump in. So this is not unique to Ayn Rand. This is Aristotle as well. So this goes back 2,500 years, because he's got 2 entire chapters in his book on ethics on friendship. Okay, right. So friendship is really important for your own happiness, for your own personal selfish happiness. Go ahead.
Yeah, what Aristotle calls eudaimonia.
Yes.
Right. Flourishing life for you to be fully fulfilled, and happy.
That's right.
Is you can't be alone. You could be very happy with your career, but full flourishing, you need love, you need friendship, So Shane certainly realized it. So this is Shane's attitude toward the Starrett family, all of them, Joe, Marion, and Bobby. He dearly, desperately wants to give up gunfighting, violence, bloodshed, and the horror of these. But if he does, Joe Starrett will be murdered, Marion widowed, Bobby semi-orphaned. Bobby will lose the proper role model he requires to become a peaceful man of nonviolent productivity. Observe the bitterly ironic inner value conflict for Shane. To save the man of peace requires the former man of violence to revert. For Bobby to grow up hero worshiping the man of peace requires the gunfighter to perform a protective act of violence worthy of hero worship. Even if Shane succeeds in saving Joe's life, he risks supplanting Joe in Bobby's vision of heroism. Nevertheless, all of this pales. He cannot let Joe be killed. Without a doubt, Shane gives up a great deal, but it is not of as much value to him as the safety of the persons he loves most in the world. Properly, both joyfully and painfully, Shane chooses that or those whom he values most above that which he values substantially but less. A sacrifice is surrendering a higher value for a lesser value or a non-value. This Shane refuses to do.
Yeah.
He can't let Joe be killed. He can't let Marion be widowed. He can't let Bobby be semi-orphaned, and of the man that he properly should role model, he can't. He just can't. It means too much to him. And if that means that he loses the intimate contact or the personal contact with the people he loves, then that's a big price to pay. But it's not as big a price to pay as letting Joe be murdered, Marion be widowed, and Bobby be semi-orphaned.
Yeah, excellent, Andy. And if I can fill in a couple of concretes here from the novel, that this idea, even again from Bobby's perspective, that he sees Shane is part of the family. Bobby makes it clear in his narration, we've had uncles and cousins come over in the past. They don't feel like family. But Shane sitting down, it's like so natural. That whole summer that he's with them, Bobby's like, this is real family. There's nothing fake. There's nothing forced. The way he calls out the peddler, I never liked him because he smiles too much. It's like an artificial smile. So Bobby's so observant, and so here, because Shane values the Starrett family so much, and here's where we can call the author to task. You mentioned earlier, he has a streak of determinism where, you know, you can't go back on killing. Well, guess what? I think the Starretts are enough for him. That's a game changer for him. And because now is the first time we see him as a family member. And there could be some kind of, you know, down the road, reunion or reconciliation or something where he gets to experience that again, this kind of love. Hopefully he finds a woman and then starts his own family, you know, but your main point is, no, the highest value, first of all, he preserves his own life. He does not go in, he does not say to Joe Starrett, I'm going to beat you up, I'm going to go in there because Wilson's definitely going to kill you and he might kill me. You know, it's and therefore I'm going to put my life on the line. It's like, it's not that clear cut. He knows his ability and he knows he can.
Shane is, in his quiet way, is supremely confident.
And I've learned, and he says it so beautifully, Andy, you've taught me how to become a farmer, you know, and I kind of admire that, but this is my world. And I'm an expert here. This is not your world, Joe. So I will take matters into my hand, and I will go off quietly.
And Bobby describes it beautifully. The gun completes him.
Yeah.
This is who he is. He's like a superhero, you know, and this is his tool. This is his weapon, you know, and how he's complete in the fullness of him, of being Shane. He's almost like his supreme confidence is warranted because he's almost there's hinted that he's more than human. He's almost immortal because one of the characters says to Joe Starrett at the end, he's wounded, and, you know, he says, but no bullet can kill that man. You know, sometimes I wonder if anything can. There's like a hint of immortality. It's like he's the God of the West. He's distinctively American hero, you know, that he rides the West. He finds the good guys in trouble. He saves the day. And he rides off because he's got more work to do. And when I've taught that in class, I've often said, I project my own ending here, like I did in Casablanca. You know, I project my own ending, and that is, 20 years down the road, the Wyoming territory is developed. It's a state. Joe Starrett is an enormously successful producer. You know,
mayor. They set him up for mayor, right?
Yeah. In fact. You know, I was telling the kids he's just been elected to the U.S. Senate. You know, Senator Starrett, and he's gonna be, you know, he got big ranch and farm and is very productive and prosperous. You know, like the Jimmy Stewart character in the Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. You know, and he becomes a U.S. senator. And here's Shane, 20 years later, hasn't been back, and again, this chokes me up. He's riding up over those beautiful mountains, and he's looking down on the valley, and he sees the prosperity, he knows the success of Joe Starrett, Senator Starrett, and, you know, and the God of the West looks on and says, my work is good.
Yeah.
My work is good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Could see that happen.
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. So let's finish off with the contrast between the film and the novel. And I bought this for Carrie Ann some time ago. Never judge a book by its movie, because we're so disappointed in movie versions of books. But Shane, because I grew up on it, you know, watching it, and Andy, at night, okay, I'm going to sleep, and there's 9 of us in this house, 9 kids, and they're saying goodnight, this one, goodnight. And
it's like the Waltons.
But yeah, someone would always say goodnight, Shane, okay, from the movie. And I'd be like, did we just bring someone else into the family? Like, there's too many to begin with here. Now we got a Shane, you know? And
Shane Begley, I like it.
Yeah. How Irish can you get, right? So then decades later, I go out with 2 of my sisters to Yellowstone, which is that area, you know, and then Jackson Hole. So the movie was filmed in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where you see the Grand Teton Mountains.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. But And I was just tempted to do this. I didn't do it when my sister's there. I embarrassed them enough on that trip, but I just wanted to go in the middle of the night and scream, "Shane, come back!" and hear the echoes because the last scene in the film when the boy yells that, it just gets me. It just absolutely gets me. And so the ending of the film is different from the ending of the novel. But your first thing that I give you total credit for, Andy, the way Shane is described, he's in black. You and I are honoring him by wearing black. But when we see Alan Ladd as acting, he's like in buckskin. And I remember, but you tell that story better. What's the significance of Shane wearing black?
Yeah, and by the way, Alan Ladd did a nice job as Shane.
He did. I totally agree.
He was well cast. Good casting. Van Heflin.
The whole cast. Yes, you're right. Van
Heflin. Jean Arthur was that her last movie. And of course,
by the time,
Jean Arthur was 50 when and she looks good in her wedding. Yeah, in her wedding dress. She looks like in her 30s. And of course, Jack Palance is perfect as Stark Wilson. Yeah. But I think part of the reason there's several points. Jack Shaefer has Shane in black. First of all, it shows he's lethal, right? Black is the color of danger, and Shane is dangerous, like Marion says, although not to the Starretts. Like, he's dangerous to Fletcher, he's dangerous to Wilson, he's dangerous to the bad guys. He's the god of the West. Second of all, he's wearing finery. He's wearing fine clothes. Shane comes out of. It's a hint that Shane comes out of some kind of genteel background, and he may, we don't know his past, but and he talks to Marion about the latest fashions. He's, with Joe Starrett's, a down to earth kind of guy, salt of the earth. He's not, but but Shane is this man of the world. He's been around, and he knows something about women. He knows something about femininity and about female fashions and everything. In a way that a very masculine man who is attracted to women would know. He's had experience with women. He knows something about it. So, but the lethality of being dressed in black, I think, is the key point. I also made another point about that once, and that there's so much goodness in Shane. It would be blinding, but it's muted by the blackness of his garb. And I think
that's what I remember, Andy. Yeah, that's the point. It's so his presence is so overwhelmingly blinding, like the sunlight. Yeah, exactly. Like you need that contrast.
Yeah, like the blackness is like wearing a pair of Ray-Bans, to shield you from the blinding sun. And I don't know why they made the change in the movie to buckskin. It's just there's a number of.
Well, the only reason I think, Andy, and I don't know definitively, but because Jack Palance as Jack Wilson, Stark Wilson, is the real bad guy, and he has to be in black because he is literally going to kill people. That's my only assumption there, but yeah, some other subtle changes. But
I don't like changing the kid's name from Bobby to Joey. They conventionalized the child.
Yes.
In that way.
And you made one good point also, Andy, that the boy, he's very cerebral and observant in the novel, but we don't really get that. He's a hero worshiper, but we don't get this long range vision that this man is going to be a part of his life, the rest of his life. Because I don't see Joey, the boy, looking as far into the future, and so or just being as observant.
Joey is he's a good kid, he's got a good soul. But he's a little too vanilla, he's too saccharine. Like he doesn't have. Bobby Starrett has a little more mental toughness to him, and I think that is appropriate on the frontier.
He saves worms. Okay, right? He saves worms to like, and he gets into fights with his classmates. So it's like, that's things he looks forward. He gets kicked out of school, right? Doesn't he, for like bad behavior or something? He's like, the day is too beautiful. I can't waste in school, so we don't get that in the film version.
Yeah, there's more of a tough-minded quality to the kid that I like. And that's
Mhm.
appropriate to growing up on the frontier, which is a hard scrabble, hard
Yes.
scrabble kind of life. Yeah, I don't get why they changed the name of Fletcher to Riker. I'm not sure what the
That doesn't,
benefit of that
yeah, me
is.
neither. Me neither. I mean,
Stark Wilson to Jack Wilson. I mean, Stark is a great name that Jack.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so
So
there's
again,
a bunch of small points.
and again, I credit you because after seeing the film over and over again and then reading the book, I thought, wow, this is so much better. The novel is so much superior, but I still have this emotional attachment to the film,
Which is
and
good.
yeah,
It's a good film on its own terms. A good film. I think it's just
mhm,
unlike the Fountainhead film, which I don't think is a good film. Uh,
right,
but
yeah,
it pales
mhm,
as in many cases, it pales in comparison to a great novel. And you're right about the ending of the film. It's iconic. A Shane, right? It's iconic Western ending. The hero
yes,
riding off alone into the
yeah,
wilderness with a bullet in him.
yeah,
And the boy, the hero worship boy, yearning from Shane, come back. Shane, please. It's very touching. But for all of that, I like the ending of the novel better.
mhm,
When Bobby tells Marion, and this is so
yeah,
touching, and
yeah,
Marion looks off into that wilderness and
mhm,
just says, thank you. And a discerning reader understands how many levels at which he's expressing her gratitude to this
mhm,
man.
yeah.
It's so
Well,
touching.
I think that's a good way to end it, Andy.
I
Anyone who
think
has not read this novel and what do the novel first and then watch the film. That's definitely the recommendation.
we could salute Shane and Jack Shaefer
Definitely.
both.
Yes.
Who did a great
Yes.
job. I read some of Jack
Mhm.
Shaefer's other novels, Monty Walsh, which was made into a
Yes.
movie with Lee Marvin, as I recall.
I like
Good, but
not
Shane
Shane.
just towers. Yeah, not Shane,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
He set the bar very high with his first novel.
Right. Right.
So say thank you to Jack Shaefer. Thank you to Shane for this shining example of heroism. Thank you for this story, which you're right, Rob. It's the best work in literature I know of that has a positive attitude towards hero worship. Showing what hero worship could mean, especially in the life of the young, but also in
Hmm.
the life of the adults, Joe and Marion.
Yeah.
And of course, hero worship is what this show is all about. Our very opening is we
That's
seek
right.
inspiration from the great men and women, mostly in real life, but also in fiction, to become the
Hmm.
heroes and heroines of our own lives. So we'll be back, everybody, next week once
Yeah.
again on the Hero Show. Everybody out there in Hero Land, we'll see you then.